Lisa G. reports.
The search for answers is expanding to South Carolina, where FBI agents said they recovered Huerman's older Chevy Avalanche truck, which could be a potential key piece of evidence in the case. Evidence teams have been back into Huerman's Massapequa Park home. Officers have also been searching storage units in Amityville, about 2 miles away, taking away boxes to see if there's anything connected to the victims. Lisa G., New York.
Federal officials are investigating after an airplane emergency slide was found in the backyard of a Chicago home. Homeowner Patrick Devitt says he was dumbfounded.
So we weren't sure what it was at first. We didn't know that it was a slide at the time, so we tried to get it out as quickly as we could because we thought it might have been hazardous.
Officials say the slide is from a United Airlines flight and it caused damage to Devitt's home Monday afternoon. Officials say the FAA is working with United to figure out what exactly happened. Mega Millions and Powerball still have no winner, creating dual lotto fever in the U.S. An estimated jackpot of $640 million is up for grabs with tonight's Mega Millions lottery drawing. Meanwhile, an estimated top prize for tomorrow night's Powerball drawing is $1 billion. You're listening to the latest on NBC News Radio.
Are you ready for a reboot? Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. History reminds us those hit hardest often become the change makers. This year, we've all hit crazy economic, social, and emotional rock bottoms. We all get knocked down. Something hits globally, locally, personally. It affects our health, finances, our relationships. We have to recreate a business or career. Each show, Sheila and her special guest will be sharing their reboot stories, guiding you with real solutions to upgrade and up-level emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially. Here on NBC's KCAA Radio. If you're ready to pull yourself up by the bootstraps and bra straps, enjoy a listen. Here's Sheila.
Welcome to the Sheila Mack Show, reality at its finest. Here we have real people sharing real stories and actionable steps to help you reinvent, rebuild, and reboot your business and personal life on your terms. I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and today I'd like to talk to you about unlocking your dream lifestyle through real estate strategies. So I'm your host, Sheila Mack, and I have been in the real estate industry as an investor and a real estate agent for many years. And I'm also a lifestyle strategist. So on this show, we dive deep into the topics that can help you rebuild, reinvent, and recreate your life after any major shift. Whether you're looking to strategically save, reduce debt, or eliminate unnecessary financial burdens, I'll give you a guide on how to leverage your home as a tool to invest in additional properties. I mean, working is really nice, but to have that passive income to where if there's ever a time in your life where you just want to take a break or need to take a break, you have that opportunity. So that is something that I was really blessed to invest many years ago, and it has made all the difference in my life to have some rental income coming in. Now, whether you're looking to strategically save again or to reduce debt or eliminate unnecessary financial burdens, this is the show for you. I will guide you on how to leverage your home as a tool to invest in those additional properties, and we'll also explore essential tips on relocating or purchasing a vacation home, uncovering the best tax strategies, and much more. So I have a couple of homes, and I did strategically relocate to an area that doesn't have the state tax and actually is a vacation. It's kind of like a resort place, and the homes are way more affordable. You're in a beautiful, safe community, and you get all the tax savings, and then it's just a 30-minute flight. And I am in the center of Beverly Hills, still working there. And I love that. So I am in and out of both states and love it, love it. And I feel like I'm always on vacation. I only do what I love. And it has just really been a big change in my life. I mean, when I went to do my first tax season and didn't have to pay my state tax. I was like, what? This is crazy. And that'll pay for vacations and actually your home over time. So, depending on what you purchase, it's a wonderful strategy. There's so many strategies. One thing that I like to do is work with individuals, do a consultation, and the consultation will help to strategically design your strategy for purchasing properties or creating passive income. And so that's something that I'll work with people individually because your needs are each individual, what you want, and the stage that you are at in life is very different. Now, ever since our 2020 situation with the lockdowns, now we have work from home, or more people have moved to online or working part time online. And so we're able to live wherever we want a lot easier than we did just a few years ago. So that is the gift in all that craziness. And that's something to definitely take advantage of. Now, before we dive into today's show, I'd like to ask or have you ask yourself this very crucial question. Is your house serving you, or are you serving your house? So, are you working a gazillion hours a week to pay for this beautiful home and you never get to live because you're paying so much for it? That may not be the best thing, or it may be that you're semi retired or getting ready to retire, and you may be at a place where having a big home to maintain, the cost of that and doing the work yourself or having to pay for the upkeep and maintenance is a lot, where you really want to travel, maybe to see children, grandchildren, or just to have that life that you really always wanted and a little more freedom. Your home may have the equity you need to be able to either rent out or sell and move into something else that's where you don't have the tax, maybe the state tax, or you don't have the overhead and the expense or the maintenance to deal with, and you can just enjoy that season of your life. So there's so many different reasons and ways to actually have your house work for you, and I'm here to help you change your financial trajectory, turn your investments around, and empower first time home buyers to have tenants pay down their mortgage. So that's something not everybody knows going in. There are still incredible programs for zero money down. There's different programs to help you with getting into your first home or qualifying, depending on where you're at in your life. For a home is still possible and actually easier than you may think. There's a lot of programs that are funded by the government that help out. So that's important. And you can also, 4 units or less qualifies as a home loan. And what will happen is if you have 3 units rented and you're in the fourth, or even if it's a duplex, 2 units, you would still be able to use the income, the rental income from those other tenants to be able to qualify to get you that mortgage. And that I love because with the no money or low money down programs, and then having that rental property that's already has rental income or the potential to have rental income, that's where you could qualify for something that you may not think you could afford. And it may be that you're what you were paying for rent or to mortgage your other home, you wouldn't even be paying that anymore because the tenants would carry pretty much the whole expense of your mortgage payment every month. So that is a really cool strategy. I love that for younger people or people that are in that phase where you don't want the big house anymore, because then you have the passive income to fuel your lifestyle, if you're semi retired or if you're just starting out and you don't have small children, you don't mind having extra units there. That's going to make all the difference, because then when you are ready 2 to 5 years later to maybe have your family, then you want to get that big home with the yard, that whole different scene. And so that would give you the funds. By then, you'd pay it down you'd rent that other unit out, and then you'd have enough equity. You'd go ahead and you buy your first rental home, and or your first like family home, and that's where you could raise your family, and you already got cash flow to pay for braces or school or tutoring or whatever surprises children bring. And I adopted three children. I have three of my own. They're all grown, so we have all kinds of family surprises that you need that extra passive income for them alone, for sure. So I love to help younger couples do that, or anybody. And there's just so many different ways to strategically accumulate wealth and that nice solid foundation for you and your family that's going to bring you generational wealth, which is really the goal of what I'm teaching on the show, and what I believe will really empower families. When you think about the studies, marriages, how do marriages end? Many times, not all the time, but there's many times finances, it's a big part of it. And so when you take that out of the equation, when you take the stress out, you don't have that whole saga, that can be very draining on a marriage, especially a younger couple. So these are things to consider, and there's many different ways to go about creating this extra income for you and your family through real estate investing. So that's why a strategy session with me is totally worth it. The money you'll make and save is incredible for sure on that. So knowing what to do and working with somebody that's done it before is very important, no matter who you work with. So now let's embark on this journey together. With the powerful real estate strategies and a fresh perspective, you'll gain the tools and knowledge to create a life that aligns with your dreams. Get ready to step into your dream lifestyle and unlock the potential that awaits you. So, today we're going to discuss the fundamental question again: when is it time to use your equity or sell and move? Many homeowners find themselves at a crossroads, wondering if they should tap into the equity they've built in their homes or consider a move to a community that offers better state tax advantages or more flexible work from home environments. So we're going to explore the value of downsizing and or upgrading to properties that can provide additional rental passive income. Now, I want to give you a scenario, and this is something that I personally did when I was younger. I bought a triplex. I lived in the smallest, most humble unit that was not fixed up. The other units, I redid a little bit. I freshened paint. I did all that and rented those bigger portions. They were like townhomes and then a little single unit in the back. And so I lived in the back single unit, and the others were nice townhomes in a beautiful area. It was Montrose, California, a suburb of Los Angeles, California. And so I was able to have those tenants pay off my mortgage. I got it for a good deal. I was kind of part of it was a fixer, and I did a lot of the painting and work I could myself. And it was my sweat equity for sure starting out. Later on, I did get my license and this and that, and I did something called a 1031 exchange. And that's for if you already have rental property or you're renting. Now, I got it on a home mortgage because it was 4 units or less. And so I got a really sweet deal back then. We won't get into my age. It's a mindset, right? But anyway, that particular home, I did a 1031 exchange, and I ended up getting a commercial. It was a mixed use with like rentals above and then commercial below, and that's what I was able to upgrade to without paying the capital gains tax. So renting out property, you need to hold it for so long. I think it's 2.5 years, depends on your state. So if you're listening from somewhere else, we need to check the laws in your state first. But that 1031 exchange, I became the expert in the 1031 exchange industry for many years. I did 23 of my own upgrades and helped many, many clients over the years. So as you build, it's kind of like Monopoly or the cash flow game, where you need to have your first income property and then your next, and you just start to build. The next thing you know, you're able to upgrade to even more income with less work, which I love. So let's consider an example. Let's get back to basics. That was going a little bit out there. So if you're getting back to basics, let's consider the option of renting out your home. With the rise of platforms like Airbnb, you can convert your property into a short term rental and unlock a new stream of income. Imagine earning income while you're away on vacation or during peak tourist seasons in your area. Renting out your home can help cover your mortgage and even provide additional funds for investments and fun leisure vacations, fun activities. It can help you pay for your property tax, insurance for the year. It's a great way, and especially if you love to travel. And we had a couple years where travel was crazy, difficult to do. So now that the world is open again, you may need to get some of that travel bug out and go travel some more, and that is a great opportunity to basically have everything paid for by the tenants. Now let's consider the option of renting out your home with, okay, there's another way you could rent out your home, and I love this even better, and it is the it's a business rental. Many times I rented to like travel nurses, and that was a great, it's corporate housing rental, and they pay a nice, it was maybe a little bit less because they're staying a longer term, but they are like 3 months, 5 months, whatever, so many months that they need to stay to do the travel nurse work, or for corporate, for some other business. In California, I had a lot of entertainment industry that would come over and they'd be shooting and filming because I had some property in Burbank. And so that's right near some of the studios. So that was an easy thing to do. And I didn't have to deal with the fast turnover of like a regular vacation rental. And it wasn't the party crowd. Not to say that that always is, but it wasn't, I didn't have to worry about, these are working professional people. They want a desk, they want internet access, they want it clean and neat, they want their privacy, but they're there to pretty much go to work or be on a project. So it just, you don't have to maintain as much, and you don't have the high turnover or the as much of the danger with any kind of party situations. Not that you mind, but if your neighbors mind, and that's a big deal, for consideration wear and tear on the house. So that is one of my tips if you are going to go that route, that I feel good about that route. Now another option to consider is upgrading to a property that provides the extra rental income. Again, that's the multi-unit, duplex, triplex. These are excellent choices. It could be two townhomes connected, and I did mention that earlier. But this is a strategy that lets you live mortgage free at a reduced cost while you generate some passive income. And so there's some fun things coming up with the new builds. Like, I do work in Las Vegas and Beverly Hills. I'm licensed with Keller Williams Beverly Hills. And so I love to help people get their vacation home, their second home. And that is something that really is nice, to buy a home with a casita or a next gen, like a separate apartment for family, elders, or maybe your grown kids that need a place to stay, because the cost of living is ridiculous right now, and they may need that little buffer time. So that gives you privacy, gives them privacy, or you could again rent it out to another person that you feel comfortable with, because they are separated from your house, but they're still in your house. So it's like a apartment within the house, that they have their separate entrance. In fact, I just showed a friend this afternoon a next gen unit where this friend is going to be flying in to stay with relatives, and they'll be flying back and forth and only really here part of the time at that unit. And so those are great. And he's got a private garage with this unit he's renting, and he's got his own little kitchen. It's a one bedroom private unit, a little living area, and it's just perfect for somebody that's traveling in and out of town that doesn't need the full home setup. And so that is another thing to consider. It just gives you the backup, even if you just have a lot of friends or relatives that visit and you always host them, but you kind of want to have your own space and privacy. That's really healthy and easier to do. So that's the other tip there. Now, I want to explore the idea with you of moving to a community that offers better state tax advantages or a more favorable work from home environment. So because we now have so many remote options, that's really an easy thing to do. And many people in California are contacting me and moving over to the Las Vegas area. It's literally a 30-minute flight back home to California, but now they're not paying the state taxes. The rental and the home purchases are way lower, and they're able to literally fly in a couple times a month for a few days and work, and the rest of their work is now remote, so that they are saving so much money doing this whole thing. So they love it, and I've helped many people do that, where they've actually sold their home in California, been able to purchase a house with cash because they had equity, or they take a fair mortgage and they put the rest of their money in the bank as a savings, and maybe they take a trip, buy a new car, whatever they need to do, but they have that nest egg. And then they might have a small unit in California they keep, or they may rent a casita or a smaller place for when they go back and visit or coordinate with someone to rent a room, and they're able to be here. Now, for Vegas, it's 6 months, 2 days. If you live here, then you become a permanent resident and you don't pay the state tax. But you have to talk to your CPA. So it depends on your work arrangement, how that goes as far as your taxes. So that's something you would need to check with your CPA before considering, yet it's an option. And there's many options like that. I do have agents across the United States that I work with that do help people. So when I consult with someone on a strategic plan for how they can create generational wealth and use their equity in their home already to go ahead and live the lifestyle they really want and deserve, then that's something that I do refer out to agents that I've handpicked, that I've worked with on many other situations, so that it's very aligned and they help you get into the home in whatever state you're looking to move to. So that is something that I do. And I still work with the clients in the consulting manner to help them make those purchases and strategize the best way to create wealth and just be in a more comfortable position. So you may have already, you might be able to live the life of your dreams like now, like in the next 30 to 60 days, because that's the time to close escrow, buy, sell, whatever, where you would be able to truly live the life of your dreams and actually have money in the bank and live in a brand new, beautiful home or whatever you want, or however you want to coordinate that, and maybe even generate more passive income with not having to work so much. And so, and you'll save so much in taxes and this and that. So you need to think about that. And if you are looking for that type of opportunity, definitely connect with me. Now, remember, the decisions you make regarding your home and real estate investments can have a profound impact on your financial well being and the lifestyle that you can achieve. It's crucial to approach these kind of decisions with careful consideration and expert guidance. And again, that's where I come in. So, before we wrap up today's show, let me share some important information. If you're ready to buy or sell property, or if you need a personalized real estate strategy coaching session, I am here to assist you. You can reach me at Sheila Mack at Keller Williams Beverly Hills, and the phone number there is 310 432-6400. And also, if you would like to schedule a coaching session or explore more resources, visit my website at SheilaMac.com. Sheila spelled SheilamaC, SheilaMac.com. And also, if you are an agent, if you're a real estate agent, and if you'd like to send referrals my way, I am in Beverly Hills and Las Vegas. So please send your information via the contact form at thesheilamac.com, and I'm happy to work with you. I'm always looking to connect and collaborate with other professionals in the industry. Thank you again for joining this episode. Now, if you have questions or would like some questions answered on a real estate or property investment topic or business leadership topic, then go ahead and send those in. There is a form on the contact form on SheilaMac.com where you can send in questions to hear on the next episode of this show. And also, if you are listening on NBC's KCAA radio, maybe you want to go back and listen to some of the shows that I've previously recorded. You can go to my YouTube channel, and all the shows have been saved there. And that is on YouTube. It is the Sheila Mac Show. So I hope to help you, and I hope this episode helped you to get started thinking about the reality that manifesting your dream, your abundance dream, your lifestyle of your choice may be closer than you think. And so I wish you life, love, laughter, and light, and I look forward to seeing you next episode. Welcome to the Sheila Mac Show. If you are just tuning in, and we had an incredible interview today, and one of the points that came up in our conversation as I review our talk was self care. So we had Christine Imes on, and she talked a lot about self care, about rebooting and getting back on track after a difficult situation, and that self care is so important. And doing the work, it's almost like they go hand in hand for sure. And so I thought about, oh my gosh, before I came on the show today, I had literally taken some time for self care. So this morning, I actually went and did a beautiful yoga and meditation. I had a brunch. I slept in, which I don't do often. I usually wake up like at 5:30 or 6, sometimes earlier, depending when I'm doing the show. Sometimes it's at 5, depending on what state I'm in. And so then on one day of the week, I always have a planning and solitude session. So that's where I literally plan out my next 7 days. And the first thing that I do is I go ahead and I literally put in the things that I really want to do for self-care, for family time, just important things that need to be done, whether it's go to the dentist or go to an eye doctor, take the puppy to the vets or whatever. And so that all gets in there. Of course, my work schedule gets calendared in, as far as my coaching clients, leading my masterminds, working with my team. And so I like do a lot. And when I take my days off and my time, even if it's like a half a day or a small piece of time here and there that I've scheduled, I have blocked that out in my schedule so that that's my time. And I enjoyed the meditation class so much. I had a great time. And I thought about, oh my gosh, I ran into somebody who was reading the Seven Habits for Highly Effective People. And that is a book by Stephen Covey. It was something that was very popular a long time ago now, and it is coming back. It's a very good book. And Stephen Covey actually bought in with Hiram Smith for the Franklin Covey planner system back in the day. And I am like a huge fan. I'm looking here. I think I have, I actually have a book somewhere uh, nearby, a Franklin planner system. And so that's something that really changed my life. Now, that was my first deep dive into personal development studies as a young adult. Prior to that, I had found Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich book back when I was 8 years young. So, part of self care is fueling the mind, and it can make all the difference in mindset, in knowing how to get back on track during a difficult time. So, these studies that I have done, they've really helped me throughout my life. I still have the original book of the Think and Grow Rich I bought when I was 8. I got it at a neighbor's garage sale for $2.19. I keep it on my nightstand. So this type of study has become a constant for me. And that that time in my life, I literally had the first tiny home, I tell you. Before the tiny homes were popular, I did. Um I was staying with grandparents that weren't really thrilled to have a young child around, and there was a lot of fighting and things going on at home. And so, we had a really big backyard, and way in the backyard was a metal storage shed. And I had decided, after reading my Think and Grow Rich, I had asked and begged and pleaded to make that into like my playhouse. And the other kids had little playhouses that they had made, or they had a tree house that was really popular. So I wanted to make that into my playhouse. And my real desire and motivation was that I was going to move out of my house at 8 and get away from some of the violent stuff going on. And so I actually did end up living in that house and going to the back bathroom that was kind of away from everybody. And that was like my first liberation from things that weren't working for me. And I realized how much control I had as an 8-year-old child. Oh my goodness, can you imagine being able to do that? And I made my little house nice. I did. It was kind of hot in the summers and cold in the winters, but it did have a little bit of insulation I added over time. I hung up like rugs and things like that to help. And it did have electric in there that was wired in. So I had a light. I didn't have running water. And it was it was great for me. I thought it was wonderful. The kids would sometimes come over and play, and that's where we would hang out. So that was my first connection with home and helping people find houses later on in life, and investing in properties through real estate to help people live their dream and enjoy their life has always been super important to me for that reason. I wanted to, when I bought that Think and Grow Rich book, one of my goals was, my mother was home with the grandparents, and she had polio, she had some issues. And so my grandparents would mostly beat her up and try to like make her be more like everybody else. And she just couldn't do that. And so I would end up like getting in the middle of the fights and getting hit, and broken bones kind of things. It was not a good thing. And so my goal, my little 8-year-old, 8-year young heart was like, oh my gosh, I want to save up enough money. I want to think and grow rich. That's the title of the book got me. How can I think and grow rich enough to like rent an apartment and get our own place so that we don't have to deal with this abuse? And so that was really one of my motivations for buying that little book. And that was purchased with my allowance. And I would go clean the neighbors' houses and help out. My grandparents always wanted me to work. And so that was something, I had my own little money that I saved up for, and I bought that book. Later on in my personal development journey, I found Dr. Wayne Dyer. And when I got into his books, he started with psychology. His first book was called Your Erroneous Zones, and it wasn't about anything other than psychology. It was nothing erroneous at all, no zones required. And so it was a book about psychology, and his whole thing came from this psychological perspective. And then I studied more of his books, and I would go to some of his live events, and he, through his own life, kind of transitioned from psychology into spirituality and more metaphysical topics. And so that was another study that I really got deep into that work. And of course, Dr. Wayne introduced me to the Louise Hay group and Hay House Radio. So I studied a lot of people that were on the radio station back then at the Hay House. And I learned all their teachings, and I just found it fascinating. So this has been a hobby or a passion really of mine that has truly changed my life over the years. Now, later on, uh, at a certain point in my life, I had this neighbor that lived in a house on the hill above my house. And she told me, like, she went to this vacation or did something, she came back and she told me, oh my gosh, you won't believe this, I met this incredible guy and he's like this teacher trainer and he's wonderful, and I went to Fiji, so you can guess who I'm talking about. So she was telling me all about this guy named Tony Robbins, and she returned from this event in Fiji and she told me it transformed her life. And then she told me all the things she learned. She gave me, back then it was tapes. She literally gave me the tapes and she was hopping up and down. She had like a rebounder thing and she was shouting incantations in her yard, which overlooked mine. So, of course, I hear her. And she had her little son that played with my kids. And so we're all like, what is going on with this neighbor? And so a short while after that, I ran into some difficult situations in life and I didn't have the answers. And I thought, oh my gosh, my neighbor, she like, this changed her life. So I went to the Tony Robbins event and that transformed my life. And so that was a big thing. And I learned so much. I had a blast and I traveled and for about 7 years, almost full time, and enjoyed all the events, which transformed my life. I have so much gratitude for that decision. And of course, through that experience at the Tony Robbins events, they have other speakers that also come on to the stage and share. So I got to learn about business marketing from the incredible Jay Abraham. And if you look on my YouTube channel, you can see a two-part series where I got to interview Jay Abraham for this show. So just go to YouTube, Sheila Mack Show, and type in Jay Abraham, Sheila Mack, and you will see that interview there. So that was just an incredible learning experience. And no matter what you're doing in life, no matter what business you're in, you are in marketing in one form or another for sure. I also got to learn about accounting from Keith Cunningham. And then that it transformed my business life. The next thing I did was I got to study all about spirituality. So I got to experience Dr. Joe, Master Co, my favorite energy healer, Donnie Epstein, which I could talk for hours about that incredible experience. And of course, I traveled over to India. I studied with the monks. I went to the One World Academy and Oneness, that's now Ecom Spiritual Center. And I also started doing regular meditation practices. And literally, okay, if you're listening in, you're going to laugh because I am not, or I was not, past tense, I was not like a good meditator. I literally, when I was going to my first trip to India, I got rear ended by a CEO of a big company, and it was like not enough to do anything. But I did go to the doctor only to get a note. And I said, listen, this happened, and I need a note so that I don't have to sit for the entire meditation. I might need to get up. And it was really like my out for not having to sit that long, because I thought, you want me to sit for like 8 hours a day and learn meditation? I mean, just somebody just no. You know, that's going to be like torture for a person like me. And literally, I didn't use my note, and I got to sit through the whole experience and connect to the spiritual side. And so that was another learning gift, a self-care gift that it blessed me. I brought my children that were teens at the time to many of the meditations, and it was just a great experience. So when you think about life and what your plans are for the next 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, make sure that you schedule time for self-care and whatever you want to study, that's your thing. Mine was personal development, obviously, and yours may be a completely different hobby. You might want to be a chef. You might want to do something completely different, but go do that, because now is the time. We only have the present. Enjoy yourself. I look back and I think, wow, I did a lot and I had a blast. And I still am very involved and still go to many events, and I continue to learn. So my mantra is, I'm a lifetime learner and a wisdom earner. And so that's something that's very important in my life. Now, one of the things that Christine and I talked about a lot was we also discussed our children a little bit, and even our adult children, and how it's not what we say or tell them to do or give them the rules. It's how we live, it's who we're being, and how we model our lives that's going to really affect our children or grown children. It's actually, if you are a business owner, leader, or even running a team, even if you just go to a work site, how you show up affects the energy, affects everybody else, and it just changes everything. So now I can go into a real estate explanation a little bit more on that. So there is something that I wanted to share about today in real estate. And how does that apply to real estate? Well, it applies in many ways. So there's many different communities that have special, like, city and government funding, and they literally like have funds to help businesses to remodel. And I can recall buying a property, a big storefront property in Monrovia on Myrtle. and and it was a beautiful place, but it needed work. And the reason I purchased there was because there was funding to remodel that building. And so I did most of the remodeling work myself. I had a blast. Of course, I hired like people to help me do the construction part, but but all that was free. And so you may, if you're looking into invest, if you're along that far in your journey in properties, investing in properties for profits, then that is something that you can look into in the different communities. And it could be that one small town. I mean, it's a beautiful little small town in Southern California in the foothills. It's very close to Pasadena, and then Monrovia is not far away from there. And so it's, and then there was Sierra Madre was another community I had purchased a place in, and Sierra Madre is another beautiful place that sometimes they have what they call like redevelopment funds, and sometimes they give it different names. And so you do have to check with your city. So if you are looking to purchase, whether it's for your own business or it's for getting into diversifying into some commercial units, then that is something to definitely consider. And you want to look at zoning. You want to see, is this commercial building zoned for only warehouse, or is it zoned for other use? And that can make a big difference also. So, an example is I had another property that was zoned warehouse, and everything for maybe 10 blocks was warehouse. And all of a sudden, they changed the zoning, and the zoning went up. So now you could rent to different people. And so per square foot, the amount you can charge per square foot went up like 5 times compared to the warehouse. So it was really a great thing. So to be aware of the zoning. And now in California, they're having some special zoning and code changes where you can add, like, on a residential property, many times they're now allowing to add like a little back house or AUD, I think they call it. So depending where you are, there's certain communities where they're offering people the chance to be able to add a unit, and that can be quite affordable. That's something, of course, you have to look into the zoning first. You have to get your approvals and go to the city and work with somebody that can help you with that. That is a wise thing. And, get different quotes. Don't go with the first person. Get like 4 or 5 quotes. Make sure you have everything in writing. You get everything permitted first and you do the steps accordingly. You'll have to get things signed off, but then at the end of the day, you'll have a great place for, maybe you have grown kids that you want to come home, or you want to rent that unit out. and and that is something that will bring you positive cash flow probably within a year or two, if not sooner, depending on what you end up being able to place in your yard. So there's just some fun things to look into for redevelopment and zoning that is going to make a difference. And so when you're working with a real estate agent, you want to work with an agent that knows how to find this information and figure out what the area is. It could be that you buy 3 blocks away and you miss out on all this money or opportunity to expand your property. And even if you don't have that um, time or money to expand now, later on you may go to sell that property. And because it has that zoning, you're going to get more per square foot, and it's just going to give you a better opportunity in the long haul. So that is the importance of working with somebody that knows what they're doing in that realm. Now, the last thing I want to talk about real quickly today is, if you are doing the vacation rental, then there's many different ways to do it, and I talked about this on the last show. So if you have not seen that episode, go back and watch it. You can find it uh, for last week. So just look on my YouTube channel and you'll see the show that I talked about, being a vacation rental superhost. And and I paid 35,000 for this house. I ended up, it was a prefab. I had $1,000 land lease, and I put in a little bit of like $4,500 for every little adjustment I made it beautiful. I separated it into 3 units, and I ended up cash flowing 6 to 8 thousand a month with very little effort, and until the zoning changed. And at that point, I sold my $35,000 investment house that had cash flowed all this time, was, like 3 years or so. Then I sold it, made 295,000, and I used a special formula. It's a tax code 1031 exchange. And with that, I was able to avoid capital gains and exchange into a property that would cash flow and allow me to continue doing my Airbnb. So, one of the secrets with the Airbnb, if that's something that sparks your interest, you definitely have to look into the zoning and the laws in your city. There's certain cities that absolutely do not allow any vacation rentals, and others do. So, you want to look into the law beforehand, and the law can change. So you're never going to make I would not make 6 to 8 thousand a month renting that prefabricated house out. I would make maybe 18, $1,900 back then. This was 2015 when I purchased the property. So yes, it is still something that can happen even today. You can get deals. Might be a little bit more, but there's still deals. I can tell you that if you're looking. And there's other ways to do your Airbnb or your vacation rental. There's other companies that do that as well. And so some people do like an arbitrage. And so what they do is there's a special lease that you can do, and you negotiate with different people that are renting out a unit. And in that lease, and that's where you need a real estate agent to help you create a lease like that and make that offer, so that the landlord's going to be super happy because you're going to be paying above, or a good rate for the rent, and you're going to keep it clean, you're going to manage it, and you will legally be able to rent out a unit that you end up making cash flow from, and everybody's happy. And that's all written in the lease and how that's worded. So that's kind of specific and special, but that's something that is possible if you don't want to own the property or be buying it. I always like to buy things because then you're building equity and you're able to do that exchange later on, which you definitely need help with that if you're new to that. So there's a special accommodator account that has to be set up before you sell. You have to ID 3 properties, and then you have to close within 180 days. So it's really important that you have a real estate agent that is knowledgeable in that. And I am working with Keller Williams Beverly Hills. So I have an incredible team. I have a team of agents I work with across the United States that I also refer people to that specialize in that, if that's where you're at in your buying process. So just call over and to Keller Beverly Hills and ask for Sheila Mack, and I'll be happy to help you that way. So there's that. And now there's another secret. So I hope you're taking notes. Get out your pens and paper. If you don't already have that, take some notes or take some mental notes if you're driving, because there is another secret. And that other secret is you're going to get more money from corporate rentals than you are from the high turnover. And you're going to have a different person in your vacation rental if that's the route you choose to go, and especially if you are renting out a room in your home. That's like really personal. If you can't separate the entrance and exit and you have to kind of share, you don't want to have people coming and going unless you're good with that. But for many people, it would be more comfortable to do a corporate rental. So I did a lot of corporate rentals with my vacation rental homes and still do. And so the rental home process that's corporate is people that are traveling for business. Many times their company will pay. So an example was a university in California was paying for a band to stay for 3 months at my little vacation rental in the canyon. And this band actually ended up playing the opening for one of the presidential candidates. So Barry Sanders, and I loved it. I was actually staying in one of the units. I was in between travels, and so every night I had a band. They were paying me top, like they literally wrote. They paid the whole thing up front, and because I allowed them to record, they actually recorded for another album while they were there, and they did their practice for this very special performance. And I would sit out on the yoga deck, and this band would literally be playing music for me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're paying me and they're doing a private band performance. And so like the neighbors would come over, and they were kind of far away, so nobody was bothered, but I'd invite people, and I'd invite my kids and friends, and we'd just listen to the band, and they were it was like a private party every night for 3 months. And I loved the people. They were really a good group. The professors came over because they were studying music. And so they had chosen this band and they were in this program. So it was a whole process and it was very professional, because you could picture band in different ways, but this was a very professional group. And that worked for my unit because I was like in the canyon in the middle of nowhere. And it was awesome. Now, other times I've had nurses, there's travel nurses, there's an entire group of nurses that travel and they get paid like a stipend for their travel expenses. That's like, 3,000 a month or something in that range. And I would just get paid and I would know that that nurse would be there for months, and it could be half a year. And we'd have to do a little bit different with the way we structured everything, but they loved it. And I loved it because I didn't have to have the turnover. There was no parties going on. There was no nobody was trashing my units. They were keeping it clean because this was like their home away from home. So they were taking care of things, and I kept it beautiful, of course, but they really did a lot of the maintenance themselves. As far as the upkeep, it was very low. It wasn't like I had to have the cleaning people there all the time. I still did a cleaning, once a week, and I'd get permission. And some of them didn't even want that. They like really wanted their privacy, and that was great. So the corporate is the way to go if you're going on the air on the I shouldn't say that name. I should say vacation rental route, whichever company you work with. And so those are my tips for today. And I hope you tune in next time because we will be talking about some more great information to help you get started on your process of turning your properties into profit. And that's going from, I'm going to go through the steps of how to pay off your debt and get your first home, all the way through how to buy luxury homes or vacation homes or structure the way you live in a way where you could live in two states and benefit from both and have a blast and actually be able to keep your current house and have a second house. So there's many ways to get into that realm. And so tune in next time. And if you would like to work with me or join the mastermind, I am building a new website, but the older one is working. So go to SheilaMac.com to connect. Or also, if you are currently looking for an agent, like I said, I do have an incredible team. And so give a call over to Keller Williams Beverly Hills and ask for Sheila Mack, and I will get back to you within the day. All right. And again, thank you for tuning in. This is Sheila Mack Show here on NBC's KCAA Radio, the station that